Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and good evening to all of you. So today we're gonna continue with next chapter, which is chapter number 5, regardless on the power and the international system. Okay. Uh, so let's continue, and this week I will present one chapter, and then next week we're gonna do two chapter. Okay. So let's start international security and power. And when we talk about power, when we talk about security, it is about realist perspective. Okay, and realist, the biggest concerns in the theory of realist, it's about the national security. It's about the survival of the state, how actually state can survive with the anarchy system, because realists believe in IR, in international system, uh, there are no law bounded. Okay, although realitily we have United Nations to protect a peaceful organization that actually lead to he is a main mediator to settle all the dispute that happen in international relations, while engaging with the International Court of Justice (ICJ). But yet, in realist perspective, they don't trust that. They believe that IR system, for example, UNs were not uh, been bound, or a legitimate organization that can actually make a good result. Okay. So that's why IR feel that international system is always anarchy. Okay, so what is international security? Okay, when we talk on about security, it is a crucial aspect of international relations due to past experience. For example, if you look at previously, back to the history, starting 90s, we have war, First World War One. It also reflects the securities of the state, and then we have World War Two, and then after that, war happened in proxy, which is called the Cold War, and then when the World Cold War end, and then starting a new, emerge a new strategic threats that actually infected most of the state rather than war, which is the criminal issues, international crime, human trafficking, natural disaster, as well as the the introductions when 9/11 happens. Okay, so the introductions of the terrorism concept being being introduced in the international system, then um, it also affected most, although we are in Southeast Asia, so also affect crisis with terrorism issues. And then until now, still the security concerns is the main thing, is the national interesting or national agenda thing through the state. State, by hook or by crook, by any means, will protect their international security, or they will protect their security itself. Okay. Oh, as I said, so realist approach, they will talk about anarchy, sovereignty, dignity. For example, we want to live peace. For example, Malaysians, we want to live peace. We don't want to have any issues regardless on crisis. But yet things happen. Issue will come over and affected us. For example, right now we have faced a lot of cases. For example, territorial issues, regardless on pulau, and the Sipadan, Ligitan, and also in the White Rock issues between Malaysia and in Singapore, and then the Spratly issues, shoral island between most of the ASEAN state plus China, and this also affected our sovereignty, right? Because whoever interfere or whoever touch our territorial, it is included as the serious method, okay, that will reflected our security purpose. So that's why in realist approach, this are the main important thing for each state to concern in terms of the security factor. Okay, so this is Hans Morgenthau, okay, in his book The Politics of Nations. So he straight out in realist approach, international security, the biggest concern is anarchy system, the sovereignty of the state, and then the world hegemony. Okay, and then concept of power. This is Goldstein, 2011. Have two main point, which is the first is ability to get another actor to do what it will not have done. For example, power of influence. Okay, this is really perspective in terms of ideology. You know, if you have if you are a bigger state, a superpower state, you have the power of influence to influence all the state to follow you. Okay, so that is the power of influence. Then the ability to influence is based on the characteristic positions of the state. For example, territorial, income level, the high income state, the first world always the third world always rely on the first world in terms of economy. And then armed forces, you want to become strong, you want it to be allied in armed forces, for example, NATO, okay, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and then population, okay, when you become in you bound, you being allied in an organization in a state, obviously you are being become a strong state. Okay, divide into two. Okay, power has two. First is hard power, which is we call it as tangible, that you can look at, you can see, and then you can, and the next will be the soft power, which is intangible. Intangible means you cannot see. For example, hard power, total aggregate of potential is population. You can count how many population. Territorial. You can see how many big the terror is. The military capability. You can look at it. And then about soft power, it is about ideas, the influence. For example, ideology. You cannot touch the ideology itself. So the mind. How actually you can conquer a state within using your mind. Influenced by uh, others. So this is called what we call soft power. And then power of ideas. In soft power is the ability to maximize the influence of capabilities through a psychological process. For example, human right. Okay, see, this is from Joseph Nye. Okay, the power to lead and soft power. Okay, functionality of power, the ability to balance tangible and intangible power. You can just look at it. This is intangible. Military, tangible first. We look at tangible first. Population, military, economy, resources, as well as population. And then next we go for tangible, intangible, focusing on political support. Education, culture, traditions, and also patriotism and nationalism. This is a model of the elements of state power in international relations. Okay, we have the main will be the natural sources of power. For example, geography. You have big land, you have big territorial. Natural resources. You have oil. And then population, you have billions of people, for example, China, Indonesia, populations 250 million. So they can, this is what we call natural source of power. And then the natural source of power will being enhanced, modified and constrained, divided by two, which is intangible and tangible. So tangible, focusing on industrial development, access to resources. For example, China, they are good in industrial, and they are good in economy right now. So they change that natural source to the development. And then under the intangible sources, focusing on national image. Okay, for example, you are Singapore, your name, your image are good, clean, your image are a power state image, and public support, the legislative factor, for example, Barack Obama, leader Vladimir Putin. So they have their intangible source of power that lead them to become what they are right now. Okay, so we can look at Obama administration after Bush. Bush 2001, 2009. They have crisis 9/11, and then for he really fully utilized military operations, more military orientation, because on that period they have war with Afghanistan, war with Iraq, and then the idea of Islamophobia being spread because of the terrorism issues, and then the propaganda that being made by American itself on that period, that were accused, most of terrorists being led by the Muslim itself. Then the world become more scared when they heard about Islam. So the idea of Islamophobia happened throughout the nation. And then 2009, when Barack Obama became president of American, and then you can see the dimensions of these two leadership that actually make what they are right now, the leadership style. Barack Obama more look as Muslim state as a friends, then more focusing, although the biggest factor is military orientation, but yet they on Obama most likely focusing on education and health issue, and he managed to capture the Osama Laden. So you can just look comparison between this leader, so you can actually describe, okay, the leadership factor really play a bigger role, important role to lead the state, and also you can view the dimensions of foreign policy, okay, throughout the leadership itself. Okay, contemporary theory. So we can just look at constructive, which have four types of power. Okay, power over, okay, power structure, power within the state. Okay, so institutional power, power within the international organization. Okay, structure power, power within the state. So state have power itself. In institution, power within the IO. For example, you are in ASEAN, you are you're a nation, so the power circle there. And then the productive power, power of ideas, so you have good ideas, you can the you can create what we call productive power. Okay, so we go for power over. Okay, more on a dominant, because you want to take over. No, relative power, war is an extension of power over. So power to ability to actualize subject. Power to power with is power ability to cooperate, tolerate, embrace difference, and benefit from each other. For example, win-win situation. Power within is ability development, personal conscientizations, and also construct own reality. This is Paul Rosland, 1997. Okay, power disparity. Power is a relative concept. So state have power in relations to other state. Okay, for example, the GDP and also GNP, gross domestic product, gross national product. Within state example, strengthens political parties, the number of state voting, for example, okay, for example, PN, they have more numbers of state, so they have power. State power is mix of many aspects. Example, tangible and intangible. Okay, this is example of state. You can just look at the power of economy. It's tangible. You can just see, most of high income state, and then middle income economy. So and then let's develop state. Okay. So bargaining power. Okay, this is exercise of power involve two or more parties, each trying to influence the others more than it is self-influence. So bargaining can be defined as tactic or direct communication. So in an attempt to reach agreement on an exchange of value, tangible or intangible terms, that one of both party values. For example, bargaining power, maybe you also have power that, but you have things that other state needed, so you bargain. For example, you can look at uh, okay, the international system, for example, right? For American, when they ask us to become part in economic factor, and then maybe we know that the superpower wanted to make use of us, but yet we need to have our pride also, so we bargain. Okay, so we bargain. So the process of bargain, it is called the bargaining power. Okay, bargaining include both direct, indirect, explicit, or negotiation. Bargaining process has two or more participation, sometimes a mediator. Okay, for example, issues that happen in Mindanao. Okay, Mindanao, Philippines, between MILF, Moro Islamic Liberation Front, and then with the state governments of Philippines. And then the issues happen because of the prolonged war, because of the 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 perang saudara, that happened. And then the governments of Philippines wanted to put a dot with the prolonged issues. So they asked Malaysia to become a mediator to settle the issues. So Malaysia being part, become a mediator, and then the bargaining process happened, and a win-win situation, end the conflict, and then the MLF have being given autonomous region in Pulau Mindanao, so they can form what we call as the Bangsa Moro region. Okay, participants bring different means of leverage to bargaining process. So leverage drives from power capabilities to allow one actor to influence the other to reach agreement more favorable to the first actor interest. Okay, leverage. Okay, leverage may operate on any three dimensions of power. Okay, the first is reward. Okay, the promise of positive sanctions. People always want a reward. For example, if you become this member, the reward, you will get more better. For example, you being part of ASEAN, you will get, you know, a reward from ASEAN. For example, you can do you can have a good economic market throughout ASEAN, and then the security being taken care. Then the threat of negative sanction, okay, damage is value and item. Okay, this is threat lah, sanction. And then an appeal to the other feeling of love, friendship, sympathy, or respect for oneself. For example, Malaysians, right? Our foreign policy prosper neighbor. We want to help our neighbor to become a good as what we are. When everything are good, everything are rich, we straight are rich. So the less of conflict will occur. So bargaining usually take place formally, usually at a table with back and forth dialogue called negotiation. Okay, Hans Mogetau, Political Among Nation, 1948. So, although in his book is described balance of power, no definition, balance of power, a rule to manage the system or international society, general concept, the balance of power of one many state power. So process that counterbalance coalition repeatedly found in history to prevent one state from conquering an entire region. Okay, you can just look at Cold War issue. Cold War is balance of power between USSR and United States. So got two superpower that make balance of power in international system. So balance of power argues that such counterbalance secure regularly to stabilize, international system from international chaos. Okay, and then he don't want to create world order juga. Okay, so that's why the balance of power in international system. Okay, variance of BOP, equilibrium resulting for equal distributions of power, for example, among nation state, and then resulting to unequal distributions of power among the nation state. And then dominance, one nation state, so the balance, okay, become dominance. So it can balance the dominant. And then a system providing for relative stability and peace, and characterized by instability and war. Okay, balance of power fail if one or more great power attempt to dominate. So when one or more great power attempt to dominate, so when they have war, balance of power fail. It happened when Napoleon organized war on 1804 to 1815, and then 1934 when Adolf Hitler starting the World War II. Okay. So second, the great power dissatisfied with the internal legitimacy of governments of others. For example, United States versus Saddam Hussein. Okay, Muammar Gaddafi. Okay, so in a conclusion, when war interrupt, BOP fails. Okay, the prerequisite of BOP. Okay, first is multi CPT of sovereign political actors. Okay, the absence of a single centralized, legitimate, and also strong authority over the sovereign state. Okay, second will be the relatively unequal distribution. Okay, when an equal distribution so among the system, so political actor that make up the system. So they start to balance of the power. So this permit the difference of state into at least three category: great power, intermediate power, and also small power. And then number three, continuous but controlled competitions, conflict among sovereign political actors for what are perceived as scarce resources. And then the last will be the implicit understanding among ruler of great power distribution benefit them mutually. So this is from Hans Murtau again. Okay, this is history of BOP. You can just look at European phenomena and uh, and also applicability of POP among ASEAN countries. So Europe phenomena, you can just look at Cold War when these two democracy socialists lead to war. So they make dominance, okay? For example, in international system. And then among ASEAN, BOP, ASEAN actually itself is a creations of BOP for international organization that most of the ASEAN state can actually, you know, being as balanced as other organization in international system. Okay, first golden age of POP. Okay, characteristic of international system. Religious conflict was reduced because they have 30 years war. And then the Treaty of Westphalia happened 1648. Only that the Western concept of nation state become into existence. So absolute monarch replaced by system of popular sovereignty. Okay, so most of Europe being monarch rules being brought down, and then the democracy system being brought up. Start from French Revolution, toppled by the monarch and ruled by the people. War among nation state was kept limited, and then cooperate mentally on various aristocracy ruling in European country. Okay, challenge of BPOP on the first phase will be the French Revolution. Okay, when French Revolution happened, so it actually create challenges. Okay, and also he actually create a new phenomena environment of world. The people become more dominant in international system, and then the system have changed from monarch from system ruled by the king and then become more to the people itself. So it actually increased as per nation's military campaign. So rise of nationalism, because state people are more sense of belonging the state. The nation state occurs, and then it actually Napoleon has created new world order. Okay, while entering the French Revolution. Okay, reactions bind together to defeat Napoleon, and then agreed to restore the principle of legitimacy and also moderation. Napoleon was eventually defeated at the Battle of Waterloo. 1885 agreed in the Congress of Vienna to restore the European balance of power. Okay, functions of Congress. First is peacemaking, treaty, democrations of boundaries, management of post-war settlement. Even in World War One, after the end of World War One, we have Congress that lead to the idea of formations of League of Nations. Okay, and then Congress also manage crisis management. Okay, Great Power Congress. We now uh, Axla Chapelle, Tropau, Laibach, and also Varna, others minor congress, which is Paros and so London. So this is the history congress. Okay, second golden age balance of power, which is 1985, 1845, 1914. Okay, major power England, France, Prussia, Hungary. Okay, so characteristics of the international system become ideological harmonious. War was kept limited, and international law began to flourish. Okay, these challenges to POP second phase are changing the nature, because 21st century, more state become a superpower. Okay, and then because of technology industrialization, industrial revolution has bring state become more dominant, and then increase mass nationalism, increase imperialism armies. Britannia rules the waves. The sun will never set on British Empire. Increase different interests among the ruling elites. Great power started to concern about their sovereignty, strong national identity, so encrypted. So what happened? Okay, starting World War One and World War Two. So the power distribution international system become more complex. Okay, and then the three model occurs: multipolar, happen, bipolar, and also unipolar. Okay, so this is 19th century. Okay, balance of power, multipolar. When these five create power, dominance in First World War, and then create the balance of power, which is called multipolar. And then when the World War II end, bipolar uh, become dominant. Got two superpower being allied, United States and also Soviet Union. So world on that period is a balance of power, and then most of the war happen in proxy. So the post Cold War era, only when this United Soviet Union collapsed 1990, so world become unipolar. So one superpower that lead the world until now, United States and all the countries. So this is alliance. Okay, alliance are important. Okay, to become dominance, to survival process in international system. A coalition of states that coordinate their actions to accomplish some end. Most alliances are formalized in written treaties concern a common threat and related issue in international space. For example, World War One, Allied was central. World War Two, Axis was allied. Okay. So state from alliance to increase their effective power relative to other state or alliance. So the world main alliance, including NATO, US, Japan alliance, face uncertain rules in a changing world order. This is important key terms in power. For example, power from different perspective. We actually look at it, from economy, from culture, from military process. And so the different perspective you can actually describe powers. The NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, leverage bargaining power, history of background of balance of power, so balance of power and alliance. So this is key terms in power. Okay, so thank you. The day of the power of love overrules the love of power. The world will know peace. From Mahatma Gandhi. So thanks for hearing. And on next week, we're gonna touch on international conflict, and then we're gonna touch on another one will be the wait. Another one will be the international organization. So we're gonna do both, okay, chapter 6 and chapter 7 for next week. So thank you for your hearing. Terima kasih and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.